everyone, and welcome to the international discussion on the topic of the conference, Global Crisis, Our Survival is in Unity. Today we have Zane Miller, IT expert, and Marco Antonio Hernández.
Thank you. Yes, today we got here to talk about the conference and to share our opinions and the solutions and the topics that were brought up. And I would like to pass the next word to our guest and to hear a bit of feedback from you. Did you watch the conference? How did you feel about the presented facts? And what was the most impressive highlight of the event for you, of the International Online Forum, Global Crisis, Our Survival is in Unity?
En primer lugar, yo quiero expresar gracias por esta oportunidad. Y en segundo lugar, con respecto a la conferencia, al foro, reafirmar, ¿cierto? Se reafirmó más fuertemente con conocimiento y testimonios la claridad del mensaje. Creo que en esta conferencia la claridad fue fundamental en términos del mensaje. El mensaje es bastante fuerte, es bastante sólido, pero el alto nivel que tiene requiere, ¿cierto?, claridad, requiere aterrizar el concepto a las personas normales, requiere percepción de las personas. Y yo creo que en esta oportunidad el foro permitió llevar este mensaje a un nivel más entendible y aceptable por las personas. Creo que eso fue mi percepción fundamental de lo que fue. Así que estoy agradecido por eso, porque para mí también trajo más claridad, más entendimiento, y creo que eso es lo fundamental del mensaje. El mensaje está hecho por científicos, personas muy calificadas, preparadas, y nuestra responsabilidad o la responsabilidad de quienes llevan esto adelante es que este mensaje pueda llegar en la manera más simple de las personas, sin causar miedo. Sí, quizás el temor que te provoca a aprender, que te provoca a saber más, a ser enseñable. Cuando es miedo, el miedo genera protección, genera una barrera, no quiero escuchar, tengo miedo sobre eso. Pero cuando uno puede percibir que el temor tiene que ver con el conocimiento, con saber más, creo que el mensaje llegará profunda. Eso sería parte de mi comentario.
Thank you. I have to agree. I think we're living in some very strange times. The mainstream media has been such a trusted source of information for all of us for decades, but it's becoming increasingly obvious that there is a narrative or an agenda. There's an omission of facts, and there are many priorities which don't seem to be of any importance to the mainstream media. And this is just one example of many, and it's terrible because there's so many incidents around the world right now which we should be focused on. There are issues that we really can't afford to have our attentions divided by things which really are of very little consequence. Geopolitics is really only important when it deals with humanity, when it deals with actually raising the standard of living, providing for people, ensuring that everyone has safe places to live, clean drinking water. This should be the bedrock of our geopolitics. However, increasingly, it is a power struggle. It has become patently obvious to everyone watching the news that the issues aren't relevant to the average listener. We simply want to know, are our loved ones safe? Does the future look bright for us? And are we leaving a world that is better for our children than the one we inherited? It's the old campfire logic. Leave the campfire in the camping area in the same way that you found it, or better. And this simply is not the case in many regions of the world and in many of aspects of our life. I think all of us share a hope that the creative society will inspire everyone to see that we can have a grassroots, a true organic movement where the people can regain their sense of power in the world and remind each other that we were always meant to be the drivers of politics and of the issues that are important. We were meant to be the ones that decide what's important and how do we deliver on our goals, rather than the government dictating these things or large enterprises and industries dictating these things. The people have always had the power. However, we have forgotten it, it seems. We've been told that we don't have that much sway in these issues. Politics, voting, elections, they seem to carry on almost without the regard for the politic body. So people are feeling disenfranchised. The creative society is one way that we can join together and remind ourselves that people were always meant to be a force for good. And ultimately, we're all optimists. It's a bleak message. The future does have a lot of challenges, but never before in history has civilization reached this level. There may have been civilizations in the past that have shown great technological prowess, but the one thing that gives us hope is our civilization achieved true democratization of knowledge, true democratization of the wealth of knowledge and learning. It's almost ironic because it was likely designed to educate people just well enough to be able to hold the jobs that governments and industries needed for their people, but not to educate them so much that they would question the status quo. Nevertheless, we still have a highly literate world. We have many, many people that can be productive and can productively contribute to the burning questions of today. And this is a fantastic first step.
Thank you so much. And yes, definitely, all of you had very valid points. And I would like to also emphasize on the fact that sometimes for predominantly political reasons, we don't hear truthful information, or truthful information is being hidden from us because politicians think that general population should not know the truth about certain facts for political reasons, because they don't want people to panic, they don't want people to act certain way. They think if general population is not aware of truthful information, they're gonna behave better. It's gonna be easier to control the population. That's why we saw what happened on Facebook when the live stream of our international forum was cut, banned, deleted. We had problems with YouTube's streams. And for that reason, I would like to encourage all our viewers to subscribe to Creative Society channels on those platforms which do not censor information. We have Twitter accounts, we have Rumble accounts, and this is where you can hear us without censorship. I would also like to say that, in fact, it is a very big misunderstanding and misconception that people should not know the truth, because it's only when they know partial truth when it can lead to negative consequences. But if people know the general picture in as many facts and details as possible, it always leads to constructiveness and constructive solutions. This is why we not only show the problem from as many angles as possible. And first of all, of course, the problem of safety of population, not only from political perspectives, but also from the perspectives of development of our civilization, of overcoming the most significant challenges. We show the way out, and the only way out is in unity. And this is a very big question I would like to ask our guests about what we see in the voice not comfortable for those who are in power. We see it happening more and more often. And why do you think this has happened? What happened? What can it lead to if people don't actually stand for the truth? Let me pass the floor to Marco.
Entendí la pregunta.
I don't understand the question. What can we do? Or why is the world in this state? Well, one of the serious problems, like...
Bueno, una de las...
one of the serious problems we face is...
We're seeing censorship. We're seeing more and more censorship on political topics and on topics of climate change. We're only allowed to say a portion of the climate change that it's caused by anthropogenic CO2. And at the forum, we show a different point of view, that there are serious natural factors that are caused we are being highly shadow banned across the platforms, and this is happening for the very same reason that was mentioned here earlier, that Subhi told us about, because politicians don't know what to do with people when they actually know the truth. They don't know how to control them.
En primer lugar, lo que yo veo.
Okay, first of all, what I think is I see and what people feel they express when we talk about problems. They feel that the responsibility is on themselves and every citizen is responsible. By making the state, the government, the politicians responsible, people tend to feel that they don't have the tools to solve the problem. So today, people feel they have been made to feel that they are directly responsible for the situation. And this is an issue that we have to put firmly on the agenda. Responsibility we share, it's a shared responsibility, and more than anything else, we have to consider, and people have to understand that we are responsible for some things, and this is a situation that's going to happen anyway. So more than responsibility, therefore, is knowledge. It's knowledge of the facts, knowledge of what can happen and what should happen on this earth. And that's something that people don't realize, because we've put the responsibility on others, and yet we, humans, are responsible. This consumer world makes us responsible for what's happening today. I think we as people, with a clear message, need to get it out to people who are not directly responsible, but who have a tremendous opportunity to change this world in terms of a chance to survive, perhaps in terms of sharing that we can do it. But today, the political society, the consumer society, holds us directly responsible, and it's displayed today. It's reflected in people very much. And since they don't have enough tools to solve this problem, we have to act. We have to say that there are tools to solve this problem, there are ways, there are methods, and that's the main thing that people can get from this message, problem-solving tools to be able to improve something. and not the stigma that we have today, that we're responsible for global warming, we're responsible for the climate, we're responsible for the consequences that might come up. And I think that model has been passed down for a long time in the political world, the consumer world, and it's time to show that it's not, and that our tools are unity, not individualism. And that's the work we have to do. And it's in the learning process. It's not fully ingrained, because when we talk to people about this issue, usually the fear that they have of what's ahead of them puts barriers in front of them, and they don't want to cooperate. But if I convey it in a different way, convey it as a fact that it's going to happen, then I'm sharing knowledge rather than terror of what's going to happen. And that will create a hope that people don't have today. That's why the message is so important, so necessary, and we have to be part of the change. We have to become part of the change to work, and work again. That's what we need today. And for people to feel that they too, by coming together, can make change happen. It's hard to make changes today individually, but we can say the unity strengthens.
We need to share this responsibility among all of us as humanity, and not continue to basically give our responsibility to others to fix and solve problems that we can't solve together. Zane, I would like to hear from you. We would like to hear from you as well on the comments you just heard and the importance of us coming together and unifying as one.
To get back to your point of unity, these sort of acts can only flourish when the people are divided. That's fertile ground for conspiracies, for lies of omission, and misrepresentations. When the people are united, it's very difficult to paint an incorrect picture of the Syrian people, or Islamic people, or Russian people, or American people, because the people know, the citizens of the world know, they have friends from these nations. They know that people are the same everywhere over the world. People just want to live free, work, be productive, and get along with one another. Most people understand that our differences make us exciting, make us interesting. But what's common is far deeper. It runs far deeper and binds us all far more than the mainstream media would have us believe. But it takes courage for many people to look beyond the narrative that they hear on the television or see on the internet on the larger sites. It takes courage to understand that there is a divisive force, a dividing force in this world, and it is closely aligned with some of the most financially well-to-do groups, and that they have vested interests in keeping us divided. It makes it easier for people to be manipulated. Even when people understand they're being manipulated, quite often they feel there's nothing they can do. That's why the Creative Society offers us all hope. It offers us an opportunity to change the narrative and connect person to person, connect with each other, and really strengthen those bonds so that we can have normal conversations in which it becomes very obvious that the narrative is incorrect, that we know that this was not done by some simpleton or a simple one-off act. No, there are forces that are trying to lead us astray, and it's only in unity that we can fight this, because it cannot operate without our permission on some level, and not obviously not blaming anyone that has suffered, but we can all do a bit more to make the political climate too difficult to operate this way. We need to get back to the sort of strength in our communities that would make it not only abhorrent, but unheard of to try this sort of crazy bombings and division, because the people would be known to rely on one another, be trusting of one another, and are having open and frank conversations. Since the pandemic, there's been an acceleration of this move towards separating people, quietening people. In the West, we have something called cancel culture, where comedians or newscasters, anyone that starts speaking the truth or saying something which is a little controversial, will all of a sudden be cancelled, taken off YouTube, Facebook, and their voice is unheard. And a lot of underground sites, so to speak, now have seen a movement, a mass movement from a lot of people there. And a lot of these people now are being labeled extremists simply because of their desire to be heard without interruption. So open free speech and open dialogue is critical. Forums like this are very important, and it's only in this sort of environment that we're going to remember exactly how powerful we are and how productive we can be, because there aren't very many issues that we can't solve if we get together and take out the bureaucratic level or the red tape out of the way and just deal productive person to productive person, one heart to another directly.
Absolutely, and this is the message that can unite people, and people actually much more well aware and much smarter, we believe, than what politicians or whoever is trying to manipulate think of them. And we know it because we communicate with people. We're taking hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of surveys. We walk in the streets, our volunteers constantly in touch with the people. And we know their feedback from social media, from constantly posting on our clips in media networks, in TikTok, or millions and millions of views from short clips of the online forum is getting. And I know that we have a clip prepared with actually people speaking on social topics, and I would like all of us to watch it now.
I dream of living in a world free of diseases.
My dream world where everybody's treated fairly, everybody's treated equally.
I believe that something like universal basic income would be quite reasonable.
Everyone has the right to water, safety, an education, and either a supply of food or the means to provide food for their families.
It seems to me that once a person is born, he or she should already be provided with good living conditions, housing and food.
I feel they should have like basic necessities, so like food, water, obviously like electricity and stuff. It's health aside, because without health you can't do nothing.
No. Yeah, and just free healthcare as well.
It would be great if every person on this planet already had housing at the moment of their birth.
If everybody could work with what they love, I think we could see a huge difference in society.
By birthright, a human should have the freedom of moving around freely. There shouldn't be borders, because I believe that God created the earth and sky for everyone, but people began to divide it.
I think every person should be given a fair right.
A child should be able to have a loving home, I think, and maybe the government shall support families that don't have that much money on their child.
I think there should be benefits to help mothers and raise kids.
First of all, it has to do with freedom of movement. Primary education should be free. It's a basic fundamental human right. free health benefits survive because some parents, they're going through crisis.
Don't fight each other. I think it's important for people to have clean water and good food.
Of course, a peaceful world, ideally a world without diseases, so that we could cure as many diseases as possible, the whole spectrum of diseases.
So everyone should have a roof over their head, everyone should have employment, access to free education, access to free healthcare.
In an open and technological society where you should probably work 3 or 4 hours a day and do only a job that is interesting to you. In fact, nowadays, there's enough technology for people to not work at all.
A world where collaboration is like the main intention and not like just competition.
A society that gives the tools for anybody to develop.
A society where everyone can fulfill their potential.
Opportunity.
Yes.
A chance of a happy life.
An education, a safe home, secure home, and equal rights.
Old age should be decent. Pensions should be decent.
To live in a world where human life is the most important thing.
Yes, I think so too.
Everyone must have access to information, and it mustn't be distorted by those in power. Mass media should be free.
Well, I suppose for human life to be a priority, you have to look after the environment that you work in. So resources have to be shared, nurtured, invested in for everyone, not just the wealthy few.
The government should take care of everybody, and everybody should be living in peace.
Want to be friendly, to cooperate with each others, not kill each others.
There must be economic independence.
It is necessary to ensure that laws are obeyed and human life is respected.
All the money that we are investing in army, we have to invest it to education. No hunger in the world.
Peace in the world and relationships between people should be friendly.
For me, it is a world without war. An alternative world, a world without nuclear power, a world without bombs and mines.
I would like to live in a world free of crime, where the government fulfills its promises.
Do you support the creative society?
Of course, I'm as active as a participant as you are. The creative society is what we are building today.
Definitely, yes.
Definitely.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I support this.
I would definitely support creative society.
Of course I support it. I believe it would make the world a much better place. I don't just believe, I'm sure.
It's important for the whole world. That's a fantastic initiative. Yes, I'm definitely going to participate.
I want the creative society, a society of kind, open and bright people, to be for the future generations. And I would like it for us too.
Sure, because I'm actually already doing it now. Deep inside, we all know what is right. At some point, we shifted responsibility onto others because we thought they could save us. But the only ones who can really save us is ourselves.
Of course, I want it too. Who wouldn't want it? We all want to live in such a society.
Yes, absolutely. We are supporting and we are dreaming about this society.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Yes, I would definitely want it. I dream about it.
Do you support the creative format of society?
No doubt. I surely do.
Yes, definitely. I'm definitely on board, 100%.
Of course, I would like to live in such a creative society.
Sure, definitely. I think all reasonable people support it.
Of course there will be a new world, and I definitely support it. Not only with words, but also with deeds and actions.
Of course, I believe it's the only way for us to survive in the world that we have created.
Absolutely, yes. I want all people to start living in the creative society as soon as possible, because I believe that it's our chance to really live a happy and peaceful life.
I would, obviously, and more importantly for a person like me of my age, I'd like my children and grandchildren to have a society like that. So that's why I would be very supportive. That's what we're supposed to have, an equal and creative society that spreads resources for all.
Of course, I support it. I'm a mother and I will soon become a grandmother. I surely support it. And who doesn't?
If such a format of society exists, any reasonable person would certainly support it and aspire for it, regardless of its name. Creative society, good society, happy society, or whatever.
Do you support the creative society?
Absolutely.
We also support it.
A creative form of society, we do support it.
Yeah, of course I do.
Yes, definitely I support the creative format of society.
I love creative society. Creative society is in me. I am creative society.
I definitely support that, like definitely 100%. For many, many, many reasons. But, everybody will say, yeah, cool, we work less. No, it's not about working less, it's about achieving more.
Naturally. Well, yes, I think that's what many people want and actually what everyone wants, what everyone is somehow striving for.
That would be the greatest society. If we all really become united, there would be no evil.
As we've seen from these interviews of many people around the world, they all would enjoy and want the same thing, which is the creative society, a society where we value human life and we cast aside consumerism for the sake of creativity and love for your fellow man. Again, my participants today are all active volunteers, so they understand the importance of this message. They understand the importance of building the creative society in the times that we live in. As we bring this international discussion roundtable to a close, I'd like to pass the floor to Marco with any closing remarks or any takeaways that you would like to leave with the people today.
The creative society does play a fundamental role. I think that it is a solution to the problems that the world faces today and will face, and the growth of the problems is increasing. So the creative society plays a very big role in the present and in the future. And it has to be spelled out because that's the basis that we will always have in the future. And it's hard to build something when people are suffering. It's hard to get the message out when people are suffering. It's a huge challenge to take a positive message when we are suffering. That is why we must respond earlier. We must reach the heart early, before it is in pain and sorrow. And we must be able to reach the institutions that will allow us to develop and deliver these foundations. We can't. As a result, when you share with someone and they are in great sorrow, your ability to reach them is minimal. However, when I can share the idea and talk about the concept of the creative society in families, where there is a perception of these things, where people are looking for something, the effect will be much greater. If we focus on pain and suffering, I think the creative society will be embraced, but it will come through a lot of effort. But if we focus on public institutions, in places where we can express ourselves freely, where society looks to the future, where people want to know what to do in the present and the future, the message will get a favorable response. And people's responsibilities and rights will be able to have a balance that doesn't exist today. Today, we are more duties than rights. We have more duties than rights. Today, we have to fulfill our duties and responsibilities, and all rights are very far from being realized because of the society in which we live in. Today, duties are fundamental, and rights are an option in second place. How can the creative society make its contribution into this world where responsibilities and rights are unbalanced, where there is no balance that there should be? How can creative society do it? It cannot be built on suffering. It cannot be built on ignorance. It cannot be built on indifference. We can't work that way. So we must create the environment, the elements, the conditions for the concept, for the creative society to establish its position where it must be. So where it must be? In families, in public education, in institutions associated with charitable societies where the welfare of the people is taken care of. I think that this message will have value and will create, and it will reach people who are suffering, but indirectly through the information about the creative society or about the global concept of the creative society. For people who are in unbearable conditions of suffering, information will do what it can. So in the world we live in, where there are so many differences and imbalance of responsibilities and an imbalance of rights, where the chances are for those who have opportunities, how can we achieve this? The stimulus, this desire that we have is what solves everything. There is no other tool or other organization that we can use to overcome these imbalances. The impulse that will achieve it, because the message is clear, it is absolute. It is not relative. It is absolute. This will happen. So my position in this matter is this: make this contact through an impulse, a desire, and an inner desire that I can convey. Society today, I don't know if it's practically destroyed, but it's the process of being destroyed, There is no family, there is no indifference, there is no unity. There is no unity beyond convenience. If I want to unite with someone, it is done out of convenience, not out of feeling. This is what dominates people's relationships today. Where I live in my country today is a climatic contingency. It's not as severe or as threatening to people. Today we may have a drought, a slight drought in some areas, but we are not yet at the most difficult stage of what is ahead of us. So sharing the message with people who are suffering or who have problems is very difficult. It's hard to get the result you expect. My point about this kind of things, about how you can talk about the creation society, counting on people's perceptions in places where people's goal is self-improvement. There I think the effect is much greater, and where responsibilities and rights are balanced, because when there are more responsibilities than rights, it's an obligation, and when there are more rights than responsibilities, it's different. We don't do a lot of things. So this balance in creative society has to be deposited in people's minds and feelings. What is my personal position on this issue? And I want to share it with you. First of all, the message should be clean. It shouldn't be just about disasters and global contingencies. It's a process of learning what's going to happen. I think people perceive it better because they learn and begin to understand what's really going on, and when this concept of the creative society is given to think that we can build a better world in form and content. The essence is defined because the creative society, the essence is defined because the creative society has a set point, which is the 8 pillars. Form is what we must work on for every area, every sector, every country, every quality. We cannot apply it straightforwardly, but in my country I can. When I was talking to people about the creative society, they saw it as just another concept, not as a valid option that could provide for us the future. Maybe in other countries it could be the solution we have been waiting for. So perhaps we have to do it the way that people understand that it will give them what they want to receive and how we want them to achieve it. When I'm talking to you about this, I'm emphasizing that when we proceed from suffering, it has a weak support. This way we will give no further growth, no way out of this state. But when I build on knowledge, on benefits, on the scale, and on the fact that the future will allow me to live a better life, I believe that success and guaranteed success awaits us. I can say that the realities of different countries are very different. I'm grateful to be living in this country, even though there are some difficulties. However, we have not yet reached the point where families decide where they want to go. Today's society can live by everything, but this is the best time to deliver this message because there is calm in it. There is measured calm in it, and this is the right time for it. And I think we should build this today because it will give us wings for growth. To grow, you have to build on foundations that already exist, that allow you to solidify. And when we have extreme situations of suffering, well, we have to use our potential, our impetus, to be able to come with a message that brings peace and tranquility. And after that, we are going to build something better. It is difficult to reach all people with a message which is giving us the opportunity to be better and tomorrow much better. When in the present, some people are not able to understand the vision that others operate, then we have to look for a mechanism, a perception that covers all moments in a human suffering and pain, in happiness, in joy, in building a better future. And this message has to be universal. If we take it as a single concept, that this is the solution to everything, that's fine, but we have to work on it. Work on making sure that people, according to their capabilities and their needs, according to their pain and their sorrow, can be part of this process. And this is a world where I said communication is blocked. We have had problems with the information. Information is hidden, it's very difficult. So the most important thing here is to go from person to person, one-to-one, to talk. I have talked to a lot of people, and they tell me fundamental things. First, they told me, if the world is going to be destroyed, we better enjoy it until it happens. And others have said to me, what can I do? How can I help? And we are going to hear more messages like that. Therefore, we must reach this opportunity for the creative society to embrace all social, collective, social, political strata. For me, the enemy is consumption, the ability that everyone has to consume and consume. That is the real enemy, and I see consumerism in my home, within myself. We have to prevent it, to fight it. The social forces maybe will help me, but that is the main enemy, and that is in society like this one, it is difficult. It is very difficult. That's why we need to reach out to everyone. Those who suffer, those who hope for a better life, those who yearn for the present and for what others have. That's the foundation I want to build on. That's what I want to rely on. I believe that's how we'll get there faster. Because in a fragmented society, we are all different. We all have different perceptions. We all create different things. And to bring them together is a great challenge. And it is our privilege to bring them to a unified concept that defines the present and a better future. And that's what I'm here for, to help, to share, and that's what we're here for. Thank you.
Marco, and thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for this message. We know that many people around the world watching forums, global our survival and unity, and they think, look at these people, they already doing so much, they got it. We're just gonna wait here until they build great society. We're just gonna wait, they're gonna make it. We quietly support you. And I want to say, friends, this is not how it works. We need everyone who watching us, everyone who listening to this message, anyone who knows the truth to be vocal, to say a word, and each one of you has the best tool to do it. We all have cell phones with our TikTok accounts, and between the wonderful videos of you dancing and reacting to something, you should maybe post another reaction for the forum of the Creative Society, and to actually speak out loud, record the video with your understanding. How do you envision society in which you would like to live in? Say why you support implementation of 8 pillars of the Creative Society on legal level in your country, and make this a trend. Post it with a hashtag. Follow us on Twitter, on Rumble, on other social media, and post everywhere why you support Creative Society, why you should watch this forum, and why it is so important to spread this information. Only then we can actually have a realistic chance at changing the society for the better, at making a difference. It's not going to happen by itself. It's not going to happen by any politicians. It's not going to happen from someone else out there. It's precisely every single person that is watching this video right now, that watched conference, aware of Creative Society project. You guys know this is a project done by volunteers, by people who are not being paid for participating, by people who are not gaining anything from the material point of view, right? Except for mocking, for laughs, for all this smearing articles from media, and for threats, for blackmailing, threats of losing jobs. We know that there are people who don't like the truth, who trying to get our volunteers fired from their job, leave their families without a way to support themselves. Those people attacking those who speak the truth. So for you guys, it's going to be much easier to voice it. And the more of us, the bigger this wave. There's nothing that can be done against will of people if people speak up, if people support it. That's why it is so important for each of you to actually record this video and post it on TikTok. And let's be honest, it's never been easier that happened. And I'm saying evolution, not the revolution, because a revolution is something that never leads to better consequences. It never leads to actual change. It's only changing certain politicians in power for different ones. But we're talking about the actual evolution of the society into the one where there will be no power of one human over another one. But when all people can execute their freedom, their power equally. And it's never been easier to do it. You're just one TikTok video away from actually making a difference, from being heard, from participating in this great project of humanity. Thank you for being with us, and let me pass the word to Zane. And from your point of view, how can people participate? What would be the best way for them to actually contribute to this message for all those who think that this volunteers of Creative Society already got it. I have nothing to do. I'm just going to quietly sit here on my couch and wait until somebody else is going to build a Creative Society for me.
I think you raised a very good point. Being a grassroots, bottom-up movement means that it is reflective of the efforts of everybody that is participating. It's not just reflective of a PR campaign or an advertisement or the latest noise coming out of politicians or the state capital. It's the cumulative, productive efforts of everyone that is a member. And people don't need to worry about having to change their life or do anything spectacularly different to what they ordinarily do. It's really about everybody understanding that being present in the moment and ensuring that your day-to-day activities are governed by the willingness and a desire to be part of your community, to be productive in your community, and to have a genuine, honest regard for your fellow man and to want to see all of us succeed and find happiness and prosperity. And that means honesty, it means spreading the word, it means making sure that when you see or hear something that doesn't sound right, have the courage to voice your concerns, raise questions. You can send a letter to your local representative if that's something that you'd like to do. Send a letter to a newscaster or your local news agency or a local paper. Raise these questions so that people will get talking. And when you raise the questions, provide information about Creative Society so people know that there's somewhere they can find like-minded individuals and they can talk about these things without fear of reprisals or fear that people will steer the narrative away. Because like you said, these are really important issues, and only by getting together can we start to make a dent in it. I find there's a strong analog between this and cryptocurrency. As we know, cryptocurrency was hailed as a great new technology, and now it seems to be crashing. The irony is that many people completely missed the goal of cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency was never meant for speculators. It was never designed to get rich. The idea wasn't to invest at $5,000, wait to hit 50,000, and then pull your money out back into the normal cash society, into the US dollar or what have you. The idea behind cryptocurrency was to put your money into cryptocurrency and then use that in your day-to-day transactions. Work, buy, sell, buy house, buy pizza, anything that you would ordinarily do with your standard currency, you would do with cryptocurrency. And the hope behind that was that people would then be free. They would be free by using a decentralized currency that put everybody on par with one another. It didn't allow for an incredible inflation because there was a cap to how much cryptocurrency could be circulated, and no one could control it. And everybody had freedom, a level of anonymity, but the primary goal was so that people could know that their lives could be governed by a fair currency, and it wouldn't be at the control of speculators. So I feel sorry for people who've lost money, but it should serve as a reminder that the goal of it was not to get rich, but to provide another avenue of free currency and free transactions. And similarly, the Creative Society, it's not a path for fame or getting rich or revolution. It's a way to reframe what we do every day. It's a way to remind people that while we work, everything we do and our questioning of the world around us should be driven by an underlying goal to unite people, to make sure that all of the wealth of our civilization is there as an insurance or a buffer so that people know that there is healthcare, affordable or free healthcare. We've had that in Australia for as long as I can remember, and it works amazing. We have an incredible healthcare system. In the US, people seem to view free healthcare as akin to communism or some terrible sort of tyrannical movement. Nothing could be further from the truth. There is abundance in this world. We just need to reframe what we see and remind each other that we're all in this together. So we need to stay the course and unite and truly be there for one another.
Exactly. My sentiments exactly. I would like to thank all of you guys, the guests of today's show, for participating and speaking out on such important topics and being the change that you would like to see from the world. I think that wraps up today's international discussion. Again, my sincerest gratitude to all of you for being here and taking the time. I would like to tell our guests, join the Creative Society Project, watch the conference, and please join us in our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.